So originally, when the story broke, there was a lot of miscommunication, a lot of chaos, and people thought that there were multiple suspects. But as of now, there was one suspect, and he was killed as a result of a police bomb. So we'll get to those details in a second. But first, let's identify him. A senior law enforcement official said it appeared that the suspect killed by the police, identified as Micah Johnson, 25 years old, was the sole gunman. So here's a picture of him. And apparently he was also a member of the military. Johnson, an Army Reserve veteran who served in Afghanistan and lived in the Dallas area, apparently had no criminal record in Texas. Investigators have not turned up any evidence that Johnson, who was black, had ties to the Black Lives Matter movement or to other political groups. So I really want to emphasize that, because that's not something that we're claiming. That's something that police officials in Dallas are claiming. In fact, during the press conference, the police chief said that Micah Johnson was clear about how he was angry at Black Lives Matter. Now, he was obviously crazy. I don't know what he was angry about, but it doesn't seem like he was in any way involved with Black Lives Matter. He was just angry at the movement and also angry at the police brutality toward black individuals.
That doesn't mean, though, that just because the man was necessarily related to the movement doesn't mean that people shouldn't jump to conclusions and try to condemn the entire movement because of a guy who may or may not be related to it. People should jump.
That's exactly what's happening.
I mean, it's unbelievable.
Yeah. And so, now look, at the same time, the guy said he wanted to, according to the cops, he said he wanted to kill white people and white police officers. So, and he was upset about the shooting of black individuals in America. Now, his way of showing that was deeply ironic. So if you're upset about innocent people being killed, the way to show that is not to kill innocent people, which is exactly what he did. These officers didn't do any of the shootings that he was upset about. And even if they had, that's not how you deal with it. You deal with it in the justice system. But that's why so many of the people who do these shootings are crazy, whether it's, you know, the guys that are doing abortion things or the Muslim guys doing their bombings and shootings, et cetera, or this guy. So couldn't be more counterproductive. And if he was concerned, as he says, about the shooting of unarmed black men, well, now the principal reason that police do that is, as I've said a million times, is the training. The training gets them to be jumpy, right? Everything's a threat, and you remove the threat. Now, what did you do, Micah Johnson? I mean, he's dead, right? So, but what did he do? Well, you just made all the cops in the country far more jumpy, now for justifiable reasons. So this could lead to more black, white, etc. Cops are going to be jumpy. They don't know if it's a black or a white guy around the corner or on the rooftop, right? So now they're going to be far more jumpy, and it might lead to even worse results. So that's why violence is always counterproductive, always a terrible idea, let alone the fact that it is deeply immoral, and that immorality is theoretically what you were trying to solve in obviously the worst possible way, and you did not accomplish any of those objectives.
Yeah.
And so Anna mentions that the protests were peaceful in the beginning. And I said, look, by the end, 5 people are dead, 12 people are shot. It's not peaceful. But you can't ascribe that guy on the roof with everyone else who there's pictures of them taking pictures of the cops, and the cops were great. There was the picture that's I keep thinking about is a black protester, no justice, no peace sign, and a white cop and a black cop right next to him.
And tweeted by the Dallas Police Department,
yes,
showing how proud they were that they were supporting this peaceful protest, even about their own policing, about the policing in our country. That's exactly where the conversation needs to be.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and in that moment, and that's why violence is so stupid, because in that moment we were actually kind of getting there. So there was black, white, etc. Americans who are upset about all these unarmed black guys getting killed all across the country. They do their most American thing you do, First Amendment rights, they protest. And the cops react to that protest by embracing them. Great, we're getting there, we're getting there. And what ruins it is some idiot on a rooftop who in his own mind is seeking glory. What have I said? In every shooting, whether it's a high school shooting, it's the guy in Orlando that shot up the gay nightclub. It's the guy who shot up the kindergarten in Connecticut. They're all looking for some sort of glory, right? And so this guy, in his mind, he's the avenger. And instead, what he did was he took a moment that was working and ruined it and killed all those poor guys. They got family members. You're going to see about them soon. We're going to see their kids. We're going to see their parents. You're going to see them crying. That's why you don't kill innocent people. It's heartbreaking and it's so freaking wrong.
And all these issues so instantly get so polarized. We lose sight of what the grander issue is. We lose sight of the fact that the vast, vast, vast majority of police officers are there protecting people. And even in this incident, after the shooting, as it was occurring, Dallas police officers pushing innocent black men that were there protesting out of the way and running, and then the cops running towards the fire to continue protecting the very people that are protesting against injustices in policing. And that's so lost in this action by a crazy person shooting from above like he's some avenger of justice in his own mind.
So, and I want to be super clear about this. The protests, Ben put it just great right there. The protests are not against cops. The protests are against the injustices in the system.
Right.
And so at the same time, if you're upset about what Micah Johnson did, you have to understand we're all upset about what Micah Johnson did. Any decent human being is horrified by what he did. So, and if you're upset at that, you should be upset about him and what he did and not attribute that to all the protesters there who were getting along with the cops great, who were Americans, who were doing the most American thing they could possibly do and handling it in a political way and the correct way. To take it out on people who were doing it the right way because someone else did it the wrong way, again, would be deeply counterproductive, deeply immoral, and would get us back into a cycle of violence that no one gains from.
Absolutely. Now, in terms of what happened to the suspect, as I mentioned, he is deceased. According to Mediaite, the suspect engaged in gunfire with police before being taken out by a bomb robot that law enforcement sent in to end the situation. So that's actually an unprecedented move by police officials, and there's some debate as to whether or not they should have done that. I feel uncomfortable commenting on that. I feel like if he opened fire on the police officials while he was hiding in a garage at El Centro College, well, the cops need to do what they need to do. This guy is obviously a threat. He killed 5 police officers.
Well, so I'm going to disagree, but I'm also, we're all uncomfortable talking about it. So the reason we're uncomfortable is I'm not in the cop's shoes, and those are, you know, not good shoes to be in at that moment. You've lost your friends, not just fellow police officers. It's not just that you're in a threat, but you're angry, understandably so. If I lost my friends a minute ago or an hour ago, and I know the guy who shot him is right in there, and he won't come out and he won't surrender and he's putting me in danger, I'd be furious and I'd want to do the same thing they did. But that doesn't make it right. So what it sounds like from the police explanation today is they sent in the robot. The robot is a bomb robot. First of all, they've used robots in the past that were not bombs to negotiate with hostages, even to deliver them pizza, which, by the way, worked in that instance. And he laid down his arms and then they got him out. But now nobody will trust the robots because some of them have bombs in them. So, okay, well, you just ruined hostage negotiations for anyone who was trying to do it the right way. So now, and in this case, look, I want to be super clear. You're going to have SWAT guys on him? Of course you are, right? On every exit, everything. Am I asking the cops to walk in when he still has his weapon? No, he just shot 12 cops. Hell no, I'm not asking the cops to walk into that. No way, right? What I'm asking is for us to do what we've always done. We wait him out. So, again, I know you're right. If you say easy for you to say, Cenk, you're right. It's easy. Like I'm not in their situation, and so I feel terrible about it. But it's incumbent upon us as society to do the right thing and not to sink to the level of these guys. So I think we should have gone with standard procedure. Wait him out, as hard as that is. If he pokes his head out and looks like you're in any kind of danger, this is when you shoot. Don't get me wrong. Like, I think that cops have criticized other cops in the past for shooting too quickly. In this case, that wouldn't have been the situation. If he pokes his head out and you're in any kind of threat, boom, put him down. I'm 100% with you. He just shot people. There's no question he's dangerous. But putting a bomb in there in a domestic situation, what we normally do in war, putting a bomb in there and blowing him up, that is a bad precedent. As much as we all were super angry at that guy, as much as we all empathize with those cops there, I don't want to set that precedent. That's a bad precedent. I don't know where that goes from here.
There's no doubt that brings up a scary precedent and one that needs to be figured out whether or not we would even approve of the concept of using bomb-armed robots in policing here within our own country. And of course, it also is especially it especially creates a problem too in the optics of this situation when the whole protest is about overreach of force by police officers to then do that. At the same time, I don't really have a grasp yet of what the difference is once he's already fired at police. They're trying to kill him by shooting back. They're just killing him in a different way. It's the same end result without him having to poke out and shoot again and risk officers' lives. What is the moral difference, really?
So, Ben, I think that's a super fair question. To me, the difference, and there is, like in police procedure, as far as I understand it, like, so for example, in another story about a Fresno shooting today, they shoot the guy twice, the 19-year-old kid, he goes down. Okay, once he goes down, then you're at a different decision point than when you thought he might be pointing a gun at you in the first place. Mm-hmm. So once he's entered that building and you're reasonably sure that he can't get out of the building, well, you've entered a different situation than the active running back and forth and shooting each other. Like one of them, I saw a video, and it's so uncomfortable to watch these videos. And that's why I thought he had military training. I mean, he's sniping 10 guys in the beginning pretty accurately, not hitting too many people in the crowd. And then I saw him do this maneuver and shoot a cop. So I don't want that guy in the street at all, at all. He's a super danger, right? But once you have him contained, different rules then begin to apply. That's why they brought in the hostage negotiators in the first place. And they tried for hours. I don't want you to get the impression they didn't try.
But during that time, they also exchanged fire with him,
right.
Even when he was holed up in that parking garage. So I guess that's still my question. It's not like it was a different phase. It was during this long, protracted phase where there was negotiations. There was also exchange of gunfire, which obviously the point of returning gunfire is to try to incapacitate and kill that person. So what's the difference? What's the difference if they had rolled in anything else to incapacitate?
I definitely, look, morally, I completely understand your argument, and I agree with you. I think morally there's no difference. And the reason why I'm uncomfortable getting critical toward the officials for using that bomb is because, look, details are still coming out. We don't know exactly what happened, how much of an imminent threat he was to the cops at that time. And I want the cops to survive, right? And so if they have to do it and it's their last option and that's what they claim it was, then I'm all for them doing what they need to do. But with that said, I think that Cenk's strongest argument is that these robots have never been used in that context before. And if they've been used to help convince individuals to not commit suicide, well, then I don't want people to not trust the robots when it's being utilized for that reason.
And guys, think about it this way. We also have other things that we've always had. We have hand grenades. And when we have a hostage situation, even if the guy is alone, like he was in this situation, so let's say it's hostage is not exactly the right word here, but he's holed up in a place where we've got him surrounded. We don't throw hand grenades in,
right?
Because that's not what we do. We don't just execute the guy,
right?
So now, on the other hand, Ben, your best point is if he's ducking out at some point out of a window or something to try to shoot out, and you've got the robot there. Well, it's harder to shoot him, and you're in a shooting situation.
Right.
Then detonating the robot makes a lot more sense to me.
Right.
Because he's trying to shoot at people. Well, I got to end that threat. I would have ended it with a bullet anyway.
And we don't yet know exactly what part of the communication this took place. We don't know if it was moments after he was shooting and they had the robot and they sent him right in, or if randomly negotiations fell apart and they said, we got to take this guy out, and they send him.
And that therein, the devil lies in that detail.
Right.
Yeah. Well, they claim, and this is from David Brown, who's the Dallas police chief. He says negotiations broke down. We had an exchange of gunfire with the suspects. We saw no other option but to use our bomb robot and place a device on its extension for it to detonate where the suspect was. By the way, I also want to note that authorities have gone to his home and they've searched it, and they found that he had materials to build bombs. Investigators found bomb-making materials, ballistic vests, rifles, ammunition, and a personal journal of combat tactics.
Yeah, so, and he talked about how he'd planted IEDs. So then, last two things on this, like give both sides. On the one hand, you don't want, for example, if you had a Clive and Bundy kind of standoff, and both sides are pointing guns at one another, even if they exchange fire a little bit, you don't want the cops to send in robots and blow them all up.
Right.
You know, I don't think you want to do that.
That's
right?
the predicament of that's the burden of being the police is that you have to, even in scary life or death situations, often take the higher ground and put yourself slightly more at risk to follow procedure when the criminal doesn't. So we can't
Right.
throw procedure out the window. It's a very good point.
Yeah. Now that's why tough cases like this make bad law. They say in legal circles. So so now finally though, I could see why it's such a. Obviously, everybody sees why it's such a tough case. But one more wrinkle to it: if he says I've got IEDs and the cops are not sure,
Right.
does he have a detonator on him?
Right.
Now that makes it a whole different situation. It's
Right.
one thing we're exchanging bullets, but if he's got bombs that he could detonate, well, I got to detonate before he detonates.
Right, it blows the
and
whole
that's based
floor.
on what he's saying. So that's why none of us here are judging what the cops did yet. You have to like see what those details are. But I hope that they didn't detonate the bomb based on okay, well, we couldn't do the negotiations. We're done with this, right? That there was some circumstances where he's shooting out a window or says he's going to blow things up, and they said we got to act right now, otherwise other people are going to be in danger. If that's the case, that's different than them saying, okay, we ran out of patience and we're going to blow the guy up.